understand what is the actually the benefit that Ashish Sanil highlighted and gentlemen from NIIT also have told. Principally, what I've understood that the static data by using the GIS we are putting on a more dynamic nature. But how do you, what is the real terms benefit for the corporations or municipal corporations to have those data unless it is a dynamic in nature? That is question number one. And by, you have already maps. I mean, when you talk about the people-centric or citizen-centric services, it has a dimension that you have today X number of people not being serviced or X number of people being added. And when that has happened, so you filter into those data into the map and you have a, present data that how far we have achieved and how far. The second question is correlates. He briefly mentioned the question of GPS. I mean, urban managements today, because Kolkata has been suffering for floods for decades now, which is lessening to a certain extent. But Bombay is now getting more and more. And if a correlation, if I add, one of the worst disaster happened in this New Orleans flood, despite having GIS and early warning system, because of lack of GPS availability, they could not predict to the nature of the disaster that's going to happen. Can we integrate these two in a more bigger form, whether for terrorist attacks or maybe severe traffic congestion or movements? I mean, that would be more helpful for present day, the city management, I suppose.
Okay, let me deal with the second question first. Okay. I'll give an example of some work done here in India, in this very city, in fact, in disaster management. And I think in the earlier session, the gentleman from TCS talked about it. They built a system for inquires, and one of the components of that system is a tsunami warning system. What it does is, it monitors constantly, and he showed the sensors where they are located. It constantly monitors where are the disturbances occurring, the subsurface disturbances which can cause tsunamis. And from there you can see what could be the impact, if any, on our shores or other areas. The way GIS can help you is if you have a terrain model of the entire coastal area, and which is not difficult to build, which means elevation data is also there. You can very quickly simulate which areas are likely to get inundated, and very often we assume that anything within a certain distance will get inundated. That is not necessarily the right way of looking at it, because it's not just the distance from the shoreline which will, but also elevation data. So you can very quickly simulate and see which are the areas which are vulnerable to a possible flooding because of tsunami, and therefore you can take immediate action if you need to. So there are many such examples where you can do a what-if scenario visually and then take decisions. Now let's talk about the first question about how can the municipal corporation benefit by building a database of this kind. If you are, let's say, planning to open new schools, primary schools, or new dispensaries, if you have the attribute information by way of demographics, you first look at where your existing hospitals or dispensaries are located, and you make an assumption that all the patients who come there would be typically within a certain distance, maybe 2 kilometers or 1 kilometer, whatever is your criteria. And then you identify on the map which are the areas which are not being covered by the existing dispensaries. And then you say, what if I look at a dispensary in this area? You can straight away see what could be the coverage. And that coverage won't be just physical or geographic, but also the number of potential patients, the community which will be affected, which will be benefiting. So it helps you in a decision-making process of how do you plan your new amenities for the citizen to improve the services that you provide.
The question was not straight away to the network side, but I think
I covered your topic because you mentioned some of the.
No, I think what I would like to add here is that once this kind of information is available with you from the decision-making perspective, then naturally the integration of all these rest of the elements who can really support the decision-making. For example, in case when someone saw from the camera perspective, Kasab was actually at the VT station shooting from his AK-47. Naturally, the whole media could capture it. So we could see that the camera was available, but the response management system to that effect, which will basically integrate that when you see something like this, based on this kind of video analytics, can you sensitize, and do you have a backend network integrated which can activate immediately on the spot paramedical forces like, for example, city hospitals, blood banks, at the same time police. And can all this integration be happen actually, using a single common system? The answer is yes. Can the decision makers from the city perspective, as well as the Home Secretary or anyone else, including Chief Minister himself, can they all come on one single platform, and can they communicate, and can we avoid the oral response to come down from the 45 minutes to 1 hour to a level of say few minutes? Yes, it is possible. The question comes back is, once this kind of information is available, whether it's GIS based or from the camera perspective, any of those kind of things, as long as the backend is integrated from the decision making perspective, all these things are possible so that you can take a quick decision and respond. Today what is missing, as you rightly said, is that information is available, but the response management is something actually which is missing. So can we integrate that? Yes, that's the thought process which we are trying to put up, using common network across all these people. So I hope that gives the answer to some of you.
I am Subramanian, Chairman, African Center for Mobile Financial Inclusion. And I would like to target Mr. Prakash Rane, who has got a little 411 urban local bodies experience, rich experience in implementation. Mr. Prakash, that urban local bodies all along have been, most of them have been seen to have followed only single entry bookkeeping systems. Now you have been talking about the administrative reforms blended with e-governance, your automation. And then whether in your experience, 411, whether they switched over from single entry booking system, always will not capture the total demand accruals, revenue accruals, or total demand and payment from to the citizens who are excluded from that. And then whether they have switched over to the double entry booking system, and whether you have ensured that you are able to cover all the citizens within your urban local bodies.
Indian government has already taken an initiative where all the urban local bodies are moving from single entry system to accrual based double entry system. This process is one of the preconditions for funding under the project called as JNNRUM, Jawaharlal Nehru Urban Renewal Mission. So US FIRE-D is the organization which has been working on this since couple of years. Their report has been adopted by Government of India a couple of years back, and by now many of the municipal bodies have already switched on to the double entry accounting system. There are challenges, definitely. Chartered accountants have been appointed. A prescribed methodology has been laid down where a chartered accountant will help them in doing asset register, doing the chart of accounts. There's a national accounting manual which has outlined the chart of account which should be adopted. There's a 1 year hand-holding which is prescribed in the model. So the program is extremely well defined. In our case, in Bombay Municipal Corporation, we have already migrated from single entry to double entry annual system. I must tell you, the problems are in abundance. The requirement of change of mindset is huge. The way the chart of accounts and the GL codes are defined are highly. Mumbai Municipal Corporation is rupees 20,000 crores. And the budget of the smallest urban local body which we will be doing would be less than 5 crores. So in terms of capacity building, there's a big requirement. The challenges would be more, but this will be surely done.
Good afternoon. About 20% still the stage of IT in e-governance and more focus on the GIS part. But how would this cascade with the budget, the processes, and all the other effects, the service part, how hand-in-hand coordination would go? Because if you estimate 10 Mbps bandwidth by 5 years, it's possible. I also believe in that. But how the coordination from more focus from GIS to people getting literate on the GIS front and the government helping in facilitating the various other aspects of e-governance?
Tangentially said that about the capacity building. You see, capacity building in the government to enter into, please sit down. The capacity building in the government in the ICT arena has to be coherent. It is not that you just only exercise your muscle, rest of the body you don't do. So the problem is coming is that there is a great scope of capacity building in the government, whether it is simple file transfer in a computer or getting into the how to understand GIS and how to handle it. But the advantage of these forthcoming software tools are so, what I should say, so screen-based and menu based. So it is very easy to handle. It is something like that when I was very young, I started learning Fortran with a go-to. And there was a go-to. Then structured programming came. So if they have got a 3,000 lines of Fortran, you cannot bug, really cannot do it. What happened to that? So similarly, in the software developers also, thanks to their wisdom, that we are getting more and more very sophisticated software which are almost menu-based. You don't have to do. And as a user, they are completely defining the user community. They are telling that it will be used by somebody who need not know and should not know. If that is what it should be. You see the form factor of the phone also, it is coming. It's all coming everywhere. So it is not possible and it is not desirable to get everybody to know how an OS functions, operation system works. It need not know. So your answer is that there is no crucial problem in getting people knowledgeable about how to use a GIS tool. That is the first point I wanted to say. And it also does not dilute the requirement of the ICT-based training in the government and all other executives. That also remains at its place. So I don't think there is a problem. What I am trying to emphasize that now you should not see that computer, printer, and you should more focus on the integrated tools. You should use the tools which are going to help you out. And it is very clear from this panel discussion that GIS is an excellent tool for micro planning and macro planning also. Micro planning, just now chairman has given. You go into the Pune, it is small, and then dynamicity, I am addressing what Sengupta told. Dynamicity of this use of GIS tool is also very, very sure because it can be simulated. He told that in the simulation. Our gentleman from ESRI, he told he's much more knowledgeable. He knows all the tools, simulators. You can have a database. You can have interactive mapping servers also, IMS you can put where somebody will be only changing the data. Then you have simulation. So it has got enormous capacity. So we should use it. And okay, I think it is a oversimplification of a problem which you have been dealing every day. How to integrate in a big country with a federal system, how to standardize interoperability, make one. It's very difficult. I don't think in this forum we can come to a conclusion on that.
I am Harshivardhan. I have a question for Rajendra Erande.
We'll just have this as last question.
It is about your post, Director IT at Pune Municipality. It's like Prakash was talking about 200 urban bodies coming up. So are you the man who will lead the action on all the things we are talking about? And the Director IT, I am not asking you. So, and will there be posts like this in other urban bodies or already these kind of, because all the IT failures will be somewhere HR and leadership failures if they happen. So how do you see that?
Specifically addressed to me, let me answer.
Answer
separately, yeah. No, I'll try to just explain. See, what Prakash has given 231 municipal corporations, those are at second or third tier corporations. We are talking Pune Municipal Corporation as first tier one. So that way it is totally different. And my role as Director IT is limited to, right now, for Pune Municipal Corporation, as eGovernance GIS initiative, taking it together. And that is where it is coming up. Thanks.
Allow me to just, you see, this is a very, very perennial question you have asked. Whether how much you attribute to the internal capacity of a department for ICT, will it be a permanent thing, which will be a tenure, or you try to get this work done by the external consultants? These are the issues actually involved. Whether every department will require an IT specialist for some time or other time. These we are struggling to find out an answer. It is not straight-jacketed thing. It's not straight-jacketed.
Thank you.
One thing fits all.
I want to thank all the panel members for the excellent presentation. I know that they had wonderful presentations, slides, and wanted to share a lot of things. But due to lack of time, certainly some constraints are there. Anybody who is interested can certainly talk to them. Thanks panel member.